Property Patriot, you are cleared hot.
Today, we are joined by Matthew Haggerty. He goes by Ace. He's a graduate of Cal University, and he's a structural engineer turned property tycoon. Let's peel back the layers on his journey from the confined desks of engineering to working for a contractor to the dynamic world of real estate investing. The things that struck me in this discussion are his takes on life experience versus formal education, the value of making mistakes, and the power of networking to find local expertise. Learn from his stumbles, his triumphs, and find out how making mistakes is truly the cornerstone of mastering the real estate game. Find out all of that and more, where we provide real estate investors the tools to achieve generational wealth. This is the Aim High Podcast, episode number 50. Good day, high flyers, and welcome to the Aim High Podcast. I am your host, Bud, the Property Patriot Evans, and I am here with Matthew Haggerty, also known as Ace. How are you today, Ace?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing today, Bud?
Doing great, man. Having a great day. Listen, I love doing this stuff because I get to meet really cool people. So thank you for coming on.
Hey, man, I love being on this as well because like we talked about just before the show, I am on a mission to grow, to give, and I get so much from talking to people like you and reaching out to new audiences and just being able to be a beacon of hope, a beacon of light, and just share my knowledge, my story, and hopefully connect with people so that it inspires and empowers them to do better in their lives.
Excellent. Do me a favor, Ace. Give me a quick rundown of who you are.
Awesome. I am a structural engineer by trade. And as you hear my story, you'll see all the fun parts of being a structural engineer come out in different ways. But structural engineer by trade, I did that for a while. Just was kind of unhappy with where I was, started working for a contractor, and that guy changed my life because he put me on a trajectory of growth. I had not grown since college at that time, and just finding myself being completely unhappy with my job. I was working behind a desk. I had to get outside. I had to do something different. And so I was smart enough to quit my job and start working for him. He was a contractor. I learned a whole bunch about construction, how structures are actually built. I was doing thousands of residential and commercial inspections, design work, and we had our own crews to actually do the repair work, the additions, all of that. Fast forward a couple years after that, a buddy of mine approaches me and says, "Hey, I've got this short sale." At the time, short sales were big. This was about probably 8-9 years ago, just after the Great Recession. Things are starting to come back, but there still were people foreclosing. And if anyone doesn't know what a short sale is, it's a way to help someone not totally ruin their credit. It's like a step above a foreclosure. And so he had a short sale. He was a realtor, still is a realtor, and wanted to partner with me because I knew a lot about construction and all of that. And at that time, I only knew what I saw on TV, Chip and Joanne Gaines, Fixer Upper. That was my knowledge at the time. And I was like, what the heck? I wanted a side gig at the time. Airbnb was coming around, Uber was coming around, all of that. I was like, I think I can spend my nights and weekends doing something like this. And that's essentially how I got my feet wet. Was I just jumped into a project. I didn't know much about real estate. I started reading books around that time as well. I've got one here next to me, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Keller. Love that book. I know it's one of the classics, and I always just keep it by me. The classics I find are they're so powerful. Just keep it simple, right? And yeah, I jumped into this flip with him, and long story short, 3 months later, we sold the property and walked away with a net profit of $90,000. So we split it 50-50. And you would think after making $45K on my first flip, and it was an easy flip too, that something would have pushed me to quit my job and go into this full time. However, being a structural engineer, I was very conservative. And so I just did this at nights, weekends, a project every couple months, 2 projects every couple months, and just built it up from there. And that's really how I got started doing flips. I started to do buy and holds as well, both short-term and long-term, and really just continued to read, continued to work at my W-2 job until the point that I moved across the country. I was in California at the time, and then moved to Nashville, thinking I was going to be the next flip this Nashville guy, TV aspirations
Yeah.
for television, all that stuff, and came to Nashville thinking I was the bee's knees of house flipping because I had a few under my belt. Anyone who gets too cocky in this profession will get humbled very quickly. And my first deal, I flipped a house and didn't go well, made so many mistakes that I didn't make in California because I had so many good relationships out there that I had built over the years. But here I am in a town where I literally knew not a single person and just made so many mistakes, lost 35 grand, first time I ever lost money on a deal. But I also said too, from when I look back on that project, that was the best $35,000 I ever spent because it really forced me to up my game, to sharpen my pencil. So many good lessons learned from losing money that you never would have got if you didn't take the risk and got out there on the court and actually played the game.
Yeah. Sometimes losing money is better than the college education.
I agree with that 100%. I went to Cal, University of California, Berkeley. So top university, structural engineering, got out of school, got my first consulting job, and I didn't even know what the building code was. It was that sad. That's like the Bible for structural engineers and architects and all that, building code. And I had no clue what it was. And here I went to the most, not a knock on UC Berkeley, great university for doctorates and PhDs and things like that. But yeah, when it comes to real life application, I did not gain much from all the money and time that I spent there. I learned a heck of a lot more working for a contractor who threw me in the field. That was the best thing he did. I had multiple engineering degrees. That guy threw me in the field. I was working under houses, digging ditches, mixing concrete. Like they had me on a jackhammer for multiple weeks straight. They gave me all the nasty work. But from that experience, I learned so much more. And with real estate, just jumping in and playing the game rather than sitting back on the sidelines.
Yeah. It's funny what the university will give you as far as an education versus what the real world will levy upon you once you go into it. My degree was in finance. I came out, I realized I had no idea how money actually worked, which is, I found out through real estate. So thank you for that. Now, how do you recover from losing $35,000 in one shot?
Yeah, it definitely rocks your world a little bit. I started to question my abilities because in California, I was doing just fine, making good money on the side. And here I am trying to see myself as the next flip this guy. And yeah, just hit a big brick wall. But as I've learned in life, and since then, I've done over 200 flips in my career, lots of buy and holds, long term, short term. I'm a developer right now, so I've been developing spec homes in Nashville. So I've done a whole lot in my life. And I think what I learned early in my career is that when you take a big hit like that, and at that time, that was a huge hit for me. That was a huge hit. It's not when you're going to take a hit, it's about how you bounce back from that hit. And after that, I sat down, I wrote down, okay, what went well and what didn't go well. Obviously, the list of what didn't go well on that one specific project was a lot longer than what actually went well, but you get an opportunity to evaluate what you learned that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And on top of that, I didn't mention that around that time I was getting married and I didn't have enough money to pay my vendors because of all of this. And so 2 weeks before the wedding, I am so stressed that I can't pay for my vendors, have to push back the wedding, cancel it. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was able to sell a different property, a second flip that I was working on, and that made almost nothing. But at the same time, it freed up capital, allowed me to pay for my wedding. And yeah, between those first two flips, because I did them very quick, I got those deals within the first 30 days that I was in Nashville. And how I was able to get those deals, not knowing a single person, was going to the local RIA, talking to people, meeting people, networking as much as I could. I did that almost every single day. And so you can pick up projects pretty quickly. And you know what? They weren't the best projects, but what I learned from that, I took with me and I just kept pushing forward. I took my licks, I bounced back, And I just kept pushing. I said, you know what? This is going to happen. I'm going to learn from this. Just got to keep pushing forward. And, when it comes to finances and things like that, I've started out with the mindset, I need to supply the funds for my own deals 100%. I don't want partners. I want to do this alone like a lone wolf. I quickly realized that your finances get tied up very fast, especially if you don't have a W-2. And that problem forced itself for me to start, one, either bringing in partners, or two, raising money through private investors. And how I was able to scale and do so many flips in such a short amount of time, because I did those 200 flips, in 3 years, I think, something like that. And that's when I learned how to really leverage money, because I learned when you do it yourself, you can only get so far. You can only pick up a certain amount of projects. But when you start partnering or raising money, you can do a whole lot of damage. And the thing I love about raising money is that you can do it any way you want. They can have equity. They don't have to have equity. They can just be debt service. And yeah, you can do a whole lot of things. I always tell people you're only limited in real estate by your own creativity. The more creative you get, the more opportunities you can make for yourself. And yeah, to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, I just bounced back like a basketball. I just bounced right back up, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to take my licks. And trust me, it was stressful. It was hard. It wasn't easy. My wife had to really trust me. We had lots of conversations about this because she was not happy to hear about me losing $35K on that first project.
Hey, honey, I love you. No kidding. But
yeah, exactly.
We might have to push the wedding back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a great point that you bring up, though, Ace. The ability to be creative on the financial end. I tell my students all the time that there are basically three metrics you need to hit in order for it to work. The numbers have to work. Both parties have to agree to it. And it's got to be legally binding and sign a contract. And if you have all three of those things, everything is negotiable.
Yep. Exactly. And I love your first one. Numbers have to work. That was one of the lessons I learned in that was we can massage our numbers pretty easily to make the deal look a lot better than it actually is. Have you ever, I'm sure you've gotten the infamous pro forma from a seller and you just look at it and you're like, yeah, in a fantasy world, these numbers would be great, but that's not what I'm buying this at. Let's get back to reality. And
every offering memorandum on every commercial property ever is exact fantasy land. I'm sorry, what is this? Is this Nas?
Yeah. If you're on the commercial space, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you're on the residential space, go to fizbo.com or something like that and see what sellers are trying to sell their properties for. And yeah, that's the biggest hurdle sometimes when you're a buyer, is really showing sellers like, hey, let's get you to reality. Because there's something that I've always followed, and it's held so true in every deal that I've been in, is you make money when you buy. You don't make money when you sell. And I've personally, for me, out of the hundreds of transactions I've done, that has always held true, because if you buy right and you don't even make money on the deal, which has happened, or you lose a little bit, imagine if you didn't buy that, because there's things we can't predict. No one would have predicted a year ago that interest rates would be where they are today. Trust me, I'm a spec home developer right now. Like, I'm selling $1 million+ houses in Nashville downtown. Like, it changes. Curveballs can be thrown at you very, very quickly, and things can change. So you got to make sure that you buy right and that you're not massaging your numbers just so you can tell your friends, yeah, I closed on this house. Because one of the biggest highs in this business is closing that deal, whether you're even more buying. I get a bigger high from buying a new project than I ever do from selling the project.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a huge learning lesson for me, is don't mess with your numbers. Either they say yes, go ahead, or no, next deal.
Yeah. Jeff McCown? Greg, sorry, I got the author's name right. Greg McCown wrote this book called Essentialism. And it's basically, if it is not a 100% yes, then it is a no. And you've got to walk in knowing that all of the essentials are met, and you've got to hit that target number. And if it just doesn't look right, just walk away. There's another one right next door. So what are you currently working on?
Right now, I decided to play contractor for the last few years. It was something I've never done. And I told you before this show, I'm going to let your audience know I'm the guy who comes on and tells you what not to do with real estate. I've made every mistake. I guess that's why I can call myself an expert, is I've made every possible mistake. It seems like I'm sure I'm going to make some that I'm not even aware of. But a couple years ago, I decided to become a general contractor. I hadn't tried it, and I suffer, and I'm a recovering investor who loves shiny objects. And so I've done a little bit of everything: buy and hold, flipping. I've done turnkey rentals, and now I'm a developer. So I am at the tail end of the developer part of my life. It was enjoyable for the last 3+ years, but it's something that I know how to do now, but it's not something I want to continue doing. Being a contractor, there's a lot of money to be made. For me, it just isn't lining up with where I want to take my future. But hey, I've enjoyed it. I was able to hold on to a bunch of the houses I built, sell the other ones. I've only got a few more that need to be sold, and we're getting that done and cleaned up. But I'm really excited about what I'm going to next, because I'm finally learning from what everybody says in this industry is just focus on something and just stay laser focused at it. I've been in this game for almost 10 years now. Quick story. My business partner for this new venture, he's not a big real estate guy, but he's a great business owner. And he ended up buying 70 properties in the Poconos in eastern Pennsylvania, the mountain town area of Pennsylvania, not knowing really a lick other than listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts and things like that. Didn't know much about real estate, but he knew how to partner with people that knew what they were doing. And he ended up essentially doing the BRRRR strategy. He picked up 70 houses the first year, got most of them were already rented, but got the other ones rented, did the rehabs, this and that. He's a big who not how guy. Who do I get to go in, help me with what I don't know? And so he found a property management company, which ended up being a good property management company. So he didn't have to worry about that. But on top of it, this property management company does the rehabs as well. And so got in hard money loan. So he borrowed money from a private lender at 12% interest. Not super crazy these days, crazy back then. And did the whole BRRRR strategy. And I've done this myself too, but he did it. He didn't manage it. He didn't manage the construction. I managed all my flips. I was doing turnkey, about 100 a year. I was managing the flips. I was property managing it. So needless to say, I was killing myself working at least 100-hour weeks. This guy gets other people involved, ends up refinancing it with a local bank, and now he's financially free. And it took him less than 18 months to do that. Me, it took me about 10 years to become financially free, just because I kept running around like a chicken with my head cut off, doing the next big thing, or seeing the gurus that come around to the local RIAs and saying, "Ooh, I want to try seller financing. Ooh, I want to do tax liens. Ooh, I want to go to auctions. Auctions sound exciting." So yeah, if anybody hears anything I have to say today, and there's going to be a lot, but I would definitely say, when they say the riches are in the niches, like whatever it is, just do it. It's going to get boring. It's going to get unsexy. But if you focus on something, you can build it up very quickly, get to financial freedom, or whatever it is you want to do, $1 million of income every year, whatever your financial goals are. Just focus on something, learn it really well, put the systems and processes in play, get the right people in the right positions, and just get to your goal first. And then once you get there, then start having fun doing random things, doing different things, because trust me, I would have rather have wanted to become financially free in 18 months than it did take me 10 years. It is what it is. His story is different than mine. I wouldn't take it back, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for the road that I went down.
Then listening to all that, with all this transition, I know we were talking offline, but this morning I was on the walking pre-workout stuff. I don't run anymore. I can't, but I was sitting there thinking this motivational speech came on, and I hit myself with this, the difference between motivation and discipline, and the 30-30-30 rule. If 30% of your life is great and 30% of your life is average, and 30% of your life is not, you're still living a pretty doggone life, because 66% of the time you're doing at or better than everybody else. And I was sitting there thinking about the difference between that motivation and discipline. When you're in that bottom 30%, the discipline has to kick in. Otherwise, your motivation is shot. But you do a lot with mindset. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So about 18 months ago, as if you're listening to anything I said about me doing everything, it takes a toll on your life, personal life, professional life. My businesses were starting to decline as far as income and profit. My marriage was starting to crumble, literally. I was overweight. There was just so many things that were going wrong because I was just doing what I thought I needed to do, was just work harder, work better, hit that financial freedom. And when you chase things like that, those goals are never attained. If you're chasing financial freedom and that's what you're chasing, and I lied to myself all the time. I was like, oh, no, you're not doing it. You're doing it for your wife. You're doing it for your family. You're doing it for this. It was all BS. I was doing it for myself. I was doing it for financial freedom. And when you do things like that in life, you will never attain those goals. They disappear. You can get to the 1 yard line, the goal line, and it just gets pushed back and pushed back. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn. So about 18 months ago, my wife came up to me and she was like, hey, if you don't change things and change them fast, we're getting divorced. And to me, that was like rock bottom. I had hit complete rock bottom. And so to make a very long story short, what I ended up doing was, my coach at the time, actually, he's still my coach, sorry. At that time, my coach was like, hey, I'm doing this thing called the 100-Day Challenge. And I knew what he was talking about. He tried to get me to do it a couple years before, and it was crazy. It's like he has these 8 life categories, health and fitness being one, relationships being another, career, finances, spirituality. And you can pick one, you could do all 8, and you just do all these crazy things for the next 100 days. And I was like, my life is a train wreck right now in all 8 categories. I'm going to do all 8. I don't know how I'm going to do them, but I'm going to do them. Oh, and on top of that, I'm going to write a book, because I've always wanted to write a book. And then I'm going to scale a really tall mountain at the end of this to celebrate. So get ready for the 100-Day Challenge. My coach preps me. We go through the, what do you want? Why do you want it? All right, how do we get it? The whole like Tony Robbins approach to life.
Yeah.
And so for 100 days, I would wake up at 5:30 every morning. I would take a cold shower. I would study. I would write parts of my book. I would then spend time with my wife, then go to work a full day, and do all the things I wanted to do with my businesses, and then come home at night and do my night rituals, which included reading again, prayer, meditation, a warm shower, all these different things. I was more productive in those 100 days than I had been in the last 3 to 5 years. And that was just 100 days. That's less than a third of a year. And what had happened is, by taking consistent action every day and being disciplined about it, I was able to accomplish more things than I ever have thought were possible. To me, I did the impossible. I dropped 45 pounds, just so things you can see, right? Physically, I dropped from 183 pounds to I think I was about 145 pounds or something like that. I got down to 7-8% body fat. I was lifting more than I ever have. I was running faster than I ever have. And at that time, I was 38. So I was running faster, lifting more, and had way more energy than I was when I was in my 20s. I cut out all alcohol. I wasn't even drinking caffeine at the time. And I learned how to leverage my nervous system. And that's what I write about in my book. It's not only my story, but it talks about all the tools and habits that I picked up and leveraged to be able to do this, to write 300 pages 300 words a day, how to research for an hour to an hour and a half a day. Because it wasn't like I wrote a book on something I knew. I had to do the research as I was writing the book, as I was implementing it into my life. So things like cold water immersion, Wim Hof breathing, all of these different things I was putting into my life, learning about, reading books, listening to podcasts, and really just trying to get as much information together and document it as I was going. And at the end of the 100 days, I did all these incredible things. First draft of the book was done. I think it was like about 150 pages at that point, and found an editor to edit the book so that I could publish it. And just doing all these things because it was so crazy. One, my life was out of control. So I was able to really take control of my life. And what I learned is the trick to controlling your life and taking the power back is by doing the things that nobody else wants to do. Waking up early, staying up late, doing the habits that other people don't want to do. Stay disciplined with going to the gym. I was never a big gym guy. My lifestyle now, I feel completely out of balance if I don't go to the gym in the morning. I can feel completely out of balance if I don't pray or meditate. My spiritual life got completely realigned. And it was just, I did so much, and it was so crazy how I could do it in such a short amount of time. And that really has sparked the new journey that I'm on. I love real estate, and I'm going to continue working in real estate, but I wrote the book Superhero by Design. I started the podcast Superhero by Design, and that's really what fills my bucket day in and day out. Is I get to meet people, I get to talk to people that are just, their stories are so inspiring and empowering, and I get to put them on my podcast so that they can tell their story to the world to help inspire more people. I get to work with people in group settings, on one-on-one settings, to really help them break through the obstacles that they have in their lives. And I couldn't be more fulfilled with where I am. It's just, this journey has been absolutely incredible. And it did not start, however, until I made the decision that I am going to take control back in my life. And I found out that through daily habits and daily rituals and daily discipline, that's how you get your life back. It sucks. There's no easy way to do it. It could be simple. It's not easy, but in a very short amount of time, you can make a huge transformation in your life.
Yeah. So Superhero by Design is now, how long exactly did it take you to put all that down on paper? I know you were doing this simultaneously, but what was the time like?
Honestly, I always had this idea in my head. I had tried to write books before, and I'd get about halfway and just life would get in the way. I never completed a project. So I would be half-assing a lot of things in my life. And this is another way to really stay disciplined. Once you start something, you see it through to completion, period. And so that's what it was with the book. And it took me the 100 days to do the research, to learn how to properly write a book, and to actually get pen on paper and get it all. I didn't write it all out, but so yeah, it took me about 100 days from complete concept to finished first draft.
Right. So I just want to reiterate what you just said and put this out there one more time. In 100 days, you had 8 personal characteristic flaws that you believed that you needed to change within 100 days. During that same period of time, you righted your relationship with your wife, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your God, and you wrote a book about it. Is that about right?
Yeah. So the relationship with the wife actually ended up not working out. We got divorced. So that did not work out. However, I can honestly say and look at myself in the mirror and say this: I gave it my all. We're still good friends to today. We still have a great relationship. We were just going down different paths in our life. And this process made me realize it too, that I wasn't really fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my marriage, but really I was fighting for myself in my life, and really taking back control of my life, the power of my life. But yeah, in that 100 days, I was able to write a book. At the end of it, I scaled a 14,000 foot, 2 of them in one day in Colorado, which I had been wanting to do forever. I had never hiked more than a couple miles on flat ground. and ended up scaling to what they call 14ers in Colorado, which was a dream of mine. Writing the book was a dream of mine. Business wise, I cleaned up my businesses. I ended up getting bought out of one of the businesses and really moved things around and reorganized my other businesses. And those profitability just shot through the roof on those. Like I said, I lost 45 pounds. So physically, I was looking completely different. And mentally, I was just a completely different person. I was a lot more confident because with all this competence I was gaining from just discipline and doing things day in and day out, all that competence was driving up my confidence. So my confidence was through the roof. So, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I ended up getting divorced. And that by itself was a huge battle. But you know what? My ex-wife and I were able to come through at the other side on good terms. We still talk to each other pretty frequently. We have a great relationship and we cheer each other on. She's a business owner as well. And so all in all, everything worked out the way that it was supposed to work out. And I'm just blessed and happy at everything that's happened, both the good and the bad. And I sincerely mean that.
That's fantastic and definitely inspiring. Man, I would normally at this point, I would ask you, hey, what's one thing you learned as your wealth increased? But I'm not even going to do that because you learned more about yourself in 100 days than most people do through their entire process. So that's a huge inspiration. We're just going to go right into the Soaring Four.
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead.
Good day, high flyers. Are you ready to take your real estate investment sky high? The Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community from you. Perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook, or click the link in the show notes. The best part is, it's completely free to join. What is one thing that you use to keep yourself motivated?
Oh, man. Oh, okay. If I had to choose one thing that keeps me motivated, it's cold showers. I love cold showers. And I wasn't doing them for a while, the last few months. And my coach came up to me. He was like, hey, we're going to do a 30-day cold water challenge where you got to take a cold shower every day for 30 days for 10 minutes. And I hadn't been doing cold showers in a while. And so started doing cold showers again. And now that I'm up in Pennsylvania, we're not on city water. We're on well water, which means the water is frigid. It's snow melt. Yeah. It's probably a good low 50s, which when it comes out of the shower, it hits you hard because when I was down in Nashville, city water, oh, that was a piece of cake. This stuff is freezing cold. And after 10 minutes, that's longer than I used to do even during the 100-day challenge. I do about 5 minutes. I got built up myself. You start getting used to it a little bit. I would build myself up to about 5 minutes. Now I'm doing 10 minutes. And when I'm done with that shower, I just want to attack the day. Like I jump out of that shower ready to just freaking take anything and everything on. If there has been one thing that has kept me motivated, we talked difference between discipline and motivation. Motivation is just dopamine. That's just the dopamine release. And showers are so good. One at cold showers, energy from adrenaline and dopamine, which lasts for most of the day. So you are just ready to attack the day. And the crazy thing is you don't have to do it for 10 minutes. You could do it for 15 seconds to begin with to start getting used to it. You only need 2 or 3 minutes of cold water and you are jacked up, energized, and ready to attack the day. That is my favorite thing. And it sucks every time. It doesn't get easier. But oh my God, the benefits you get from it. And I'm not even going to cover the health benefits. That's just if you want to attack the day. If you want to be in full on beast mode, take a cold shower in the morning. Works every time.
Ace, I normally just put my head under cold water. And then after my workout, I do that. I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to jump in the cold shower before I hit that. So what is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
Oh, I would say daily discipline. I first was introduced from the Morning Miracle. Do you remember? Did you ever read that book, The Morning Miracle? That's a phenomenal book. Yep. Hal is, oh my God, he's such an inspiration. That guy's story is insane. But yeah, I learned about it first then. And I started to implement it, and I was starting to make some good changes in my life at that time. And then anything else, for me at least, it fell off to the wayside. But after doing the 100-day challenge and really seeing like insane transformation in myself, insane results in such a short amount of time, I was like, all right, I'm going to be like Jocko Willink, just be disciplined. More discipline equals more freedom. And so daily discipline, no matter how you feel in the morning, get up, get to it, and you're going to feel a hell of a lot better.
So let's go down that path. Let's go right into the next one, which is what tools do you use to keep yourself on track?
We talked about cold water immersion. I love Wim Hof breathing as well, specifically Wim Hof. I also do, Tony Robbins has a video on YouTube, morning priming. He calls it priming. It's like a 15-minute video. Priming is insane as well. It's another good ritual that I put into my daily rituals from time to time. I'll do it for a couple months and then take it out and then put it back in. Everything's pretty fluid, but as long as you're having certain fundamentals in the morning and in the evening, the morning is really about getting ready for the day. It's like putting on clothes for the day. I'm getting ready for the day. And then the evening is more getting ready for sleep, getting myself ready for sleep. And I think the nightly rituals are just as important. And those are difficult because you are exhausted by the end of the day. All I want to do is go get in my bed and go to sleep. But doing the nightly rituals are just as important. Yeah, breathing techniques, cold water immersion, journaling, meditation, or prayer, depending however your spiritual walk is. I think that's such a huge thing. Yeah, I could go on and on about those things, but yeah, those are the ones that come off the top of my head.
Okay, so Matthew Haggerty, ACE, author, real estate professional, rental property owner, developer, engineer. What is one thing you would change if you had to start all over?
Oh man, you talked about this before we had gone on. If I had to change one thing, I already talked about focus, so I won't pick that. But for me, honestly, I managed a lot. I had a property management business and managed a lot of properties, lower end properties. I would hire a property manager. And I've started to do that, not with my short-term stuff. I love managing my short-term stuff. The long-term stuff, I threw all that with a property manager. I was like, I'm done with this. After I saw my buddy who became financially free in 18 months, hiring a property manager that not only manages them, but deals with all the insurance stuff in case there's a fire, things like that. Oh man, evictions, getting new tenants in, turnover, contractors, they even do the rehabs. I was like, I'm going to outsource that from here on out. It didn't make sense. Didn't make sense numbers wise, did not make sense time wise. And that's one big thing I would change.
Well, Ace, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. I thank you very much for your time. I know that you're busy, and I really do appreciate you.
No, I appreciate it too, man. And if I could give just a quick little thing to your listeners, if they go to superherobydesign.com, that's my website, right on the front page there, they can get a free ebook. So it's the book I was telling you about, Superhero by Design. Phenomenal. Talks about my transformation, but also gives all the tools, tips, and tricks that I used in that 100 days, even outlines what I did those 100 days for everybody. And yeah, that book is a quick, easy read. It's free. And honestly, it will change your life because it changed my life in ways that I never would have thought would have been possible.
I'm still going to ask you, if someone wanted to get in touch with you directly outside of Superhero by Design, how would they do that?
Yeah. Instagram, Ace Haggerty, or they can email me directly, ace@superherobydesign.com. Trust me, reach out to me. I will reach out back myself. I love working with people. We're all in this together. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. And if I'm able to at least inspire or give one nugget that even just changes someone's trajectory just a little bit, just a degree, that's what I'm here to do. So reach out to me, ace@superherobydesign.com, or Instagram, Ace Haggerty.
And again, thank you very much.
Hey, man, Pleasure's all mine. I really appreciate you having me on this show. It's been incredible.
Hey, to reach out to Ace, all of his information is in the show notes. To reach out to Ace, check out the links in the show notes. If you're getting value from this and you're finding this information interesting, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and review on iTunes or Spotify. If you're getting value out of this, give us a like and subscribe. And give us a review on iTunes. Don't forget to sign up for the Aim High REI and catch our Friday live stream. It's free. Until next time, aim high.